I got to give an opening statement.
If you want to.
I'm good.
Yeah, 2 minutes. First practice, obviously a little different than spring. What was it like out there today?
I felt like we started a lot better than we did in the spring, I think, because guys had a good expectation of what practice should look like. And so I feel like we're just further ahead, which is good. That's what you want at this point.
I asked Coach about for you to take the next step. How do you feel you need to take the next step in your game, or what is that next step?
I think obviously just continuing to evolve in the leadership aspect, for one, and then I think the second piece of it is just using my legs to extend plays. I think that's something that I definitely focused on this offseason, making those off-schedule throws, those off-schedule plays when, the read necessarily isn't there, scrambling out, making something happen. So I think those two things have kind of been at the forefront of my mind.
Kyle, there was a play early on when we were at practice where you connected with OG down the sideline. Mm-hmm. Was that kind of a moment you've been waiting for to connect with him and like real football? Yeah,
100%. I think I got a little taste of playing with him in the spring, and then obviously didn't play towards the end of spring, but I think just all the work that we put in this offseason, you necessarily don't reap the benefits of it right away, but I think that was like the third play of fall camp to hit him for 70-yard touchdown, whatever that was. That was definitely a good sign that we were working in the right direction.
What's it like playing with a playmaker like OG?
Unfair, to be honest. I think wherever you line him up, it's a mismatch. I think he's too big for corners, too fast for safeties, too fast for linebackers. So it's definitely fun to kind of line him up wherever and know that you have an advantage there.
I'm just curious about the relationship you have with Coach Brown. I mean, obviously, it goes all the way back to when you were a small kid playing football.
Yeah.
Just how unique is it to have had that relationship back when you were growing up and to now basically rekindle it here at Syracuse and get a college football season?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that it all came full circle. Like you said, obviously knowing him since I was in middle school, and joking with him that I was going to play for him one day, and then fast forward to college, playing for a coach like him at a school like this, and I think just the situation, like you look around, I think there's guys all over that are from that area, that South Jersey area. So, like I said, just to have things come full circle like that is pretty cool.
What are some of the key things you learned in spring that maybe you didn't know walking into in a new situation that you now have knowledge of and can use to your benefit here in fall camp?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing is, especially last year at Ohio State, being there for 3 years, I think you get numb to how good my connection was with those receivers. I think the amount of reps that you take over the course of 3 years, especially with Marvin, for example, last year, I knew when he started to break his hips, where exactly he was going to end up at the top of his route. And I think those things you just kind of get numb to, like I said. And so having to almost restart that when I got here. And I feel like sometimes in the spring that would show like we just weren't on the same page, but I think those are definitely kinks that we ironed out throughout the summer, and I feel like now we're hitting at a more consistent rate and those things aren't happening as much.
You've talked about it, coaches talked about it, saying that you're the leader of this team. How do you take up that mantle as being essentially the number one guy, the leader of this football team?
Yeah, I think regardless of if things are going in the right direction or not, guys are going to look at you. How do you handle success? How do you handle failure? But that's what you want at the end of the day as the quarterback of the team. You want that responsibility and you want to be in that role. And so I think that's just something that I've been trying to be conscious of, making sure that my body language is always on point, that I'm saying the right things to the guys, that I'm doing the right things. I think obviously leadership, there's the vocal aspect of it, but on top of that, you have to lead by example and, be one of the hardest workers on the team.
What similarities are you seeing here at Syracuse that maybe you had at Ohio State?
I think I spoke on this when I first got here, but Coach Fran, obviously coming from a similar program at Georgia and Ohio State, has just had that same pedigree, that same championship mindset, and just not letting anything fall through, the cracks, just being on top of everything, the attention to detail, the intensity of practice, every single day you have to act like the ACC championship is on the line, and I think that's kind of something that he's been saying to us, and it's I think repeated throughout the entire locker room, which is exactly what you want.
It's early in the situation here, but what do you think about living in the dorm and walking back and forth from practice and doing some old school things?
No, I mean, I love it. I think, that's I think all the coaches love it because that's what they grew up doing. But I think it definitely brings us closer. Just being around the guys literally 24/7 is awesome. And I think when you look back on your camp memories, it's not so much what happened on the field, but what happened off the field, you know, right before bed, you know, chilling with the guys in the dorm, whatever the case may be. So I think down the line, we don't realize it right now, but I think it's going to help out in the long run.
It's really hot.
Last two for
you guys
Kyle.
have air conditioning?
Yeah, we do, and I got that fan working overtime.
You mentioned using your legs a little bit more. Was that something that you wanted to work on, something the coaches suggested? Where did that kind of come from?
A little bit of both. I think watching the film last year, obviously having two banged up ankles didn't help with the mobility piece, but I think there were times last year where I could have escaped and made something happen down the field. So that was just self-evaluation. And then obviously Coach Fran tells me all the time he wants that little league youth quarterback running around making plays out there. So a little bit of both, but I think when I went back and really studied myself from last year, that's something that I realized I could definitely take a step and help my game.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you, guys.